This video, we're just going to go over a few problems for simple interest that involve simple interest here. So the first one says, if you borrow $3,000 at 14% simple interest for 10 months, how much will you owe in 10 months and how much interest will you pay? Okay, so this is just a straightforward simple interest problem where you're going to solve for amount. And remember, the amount formula is A equals P times 1 plus RT. Now, we know that the principal here is 3,000, so put 3,000 in for principal. And you know that the rate is 0.14, so put that in. Now, 10 months, I'm just going to write that as 10/12ths of a year. And I'm going to leave it as 10/12ths because I don't want you to start rounding decimals. So leave fractions in fraction form unless they're a terminating decimal. So if this was 6/12ths of a month of a year, then you could put 0.5, but 10/12ths doesn't round very nicely, so just leave it as 10/12ths. You could reduce it to 5/6, and that would be okay, but I just leave it as 10/12ths. All right, so now you want to put this in the calculator just like I've got it written here, and then just hit enter, and it's going to give you that the amount is $3,350. Now, to answer the second question, how much of that is interest, you just take the amount, $3,350, subtract off the principal, which is the 3,000, and so $3,350 minus 3,000 gives you $350 for the interest. And so that's all you do there. Now, the second one says a loan of $2,500 was repaid at the end of 39 weeks with a check for $28,1250. What annual rate of interest was charged? Now, in the previous video, I showed you two ways to do this, but I just prefer to use the interest formula. As long as I know the principal and I know the amount, then I know all I have to do is take the difference of these two values, and that will give me the interest. So take $28,1250, subtract $2,500, and you'll get that the interest is $312.50, and then I can use this formula, I equal PRT. So I'm going to put the interest, which is $312.50, in for I, and then the principal is $2,500, and R is the unknown, and 39 weeks would be 39 out of 52 years. Now, what's good about this is the same as 0.75. because that is a terminating decimal. So now I have 2,500 times R times 0.75. So to isolate R, just divide both sides by 2,500 times 0.75, and I'll get 312.5 divided by 2,500 times 0.75. And then, of course, when you put this in a calculator like this, put parentheses around the entire denominator. And that came out to be 0.1667, which is 16.67%. Now, number 3 is really just another amount problem. It just says an accountant forgot to pay the firm's income tax of this amount, and the government charged a penalty of 12.7% annual interest for the 34 days the money was late. Find the total amount that must be paid. So here I'm going to use this same formula. Don't worry about the brackets. I probably should have used parentheses to be consistent, but use this formula to find the amount that you have to pay. So you'd have to take the principal. This right here is actually the principal that you're paying the interest on. So your principal would be that $725,896.15, and then you multiply that 1 plus RT, where R is the rate, 0.127 in decimal, and then since it's 34 days would be 34 out of 365 years, and it didn't say use 360 like that earlier problem did, so I'm going to go ahead and use 365 here. And then when you multiply this together, you should get $734,483.60. The next problem says an investor wants to earn an annual interest rate of 10.76% on a 26-week treasury bill that has a maturity value of $5,000. How much should the investor pay for the bill? Well, what I'm giving you here is you've got the rate, you've got the time, 26 weeks, which would be half a year, and you've got the maturity value, which is that's the amount. So we know the amount is $5,000. What we want to know is how much should the investor pay for the bill. So in other words, we want to know what principal should be invested. So you remember earlier I showed you a formula like this where principal is equal to the amount divided by the quantity 1 plus RT. So now if I just plug 5,000 in for the amount and then divide it by the sum 1 plus rate times time, the rate in decimal is 0.1076 and time is 26 weeks, which is half a year, so I just put 0.5 in for 26 weeks and then calculate that, and you get that the principal that should be paid for this treasury bill should be $4,744.73. And so that's how you solve that problem. Now, this next problem, students tend to have a problem with this because they don't understand the concept of the transaction fees that are charged on each transaction. So let me just show you what happens here. Jesse buys 100 shares of stock at $29.52 per share. Then 9 months later, he sells the stock for $37.85 per share. The transaction fees are 1% of the total transaction for each transaction. And then the question is, what annual interest rate did Jesse earn? Well, the formula I'm going to use is I equal PRT to get the rate. But I'm going to have to get the interest. But the only way I'm going to know the interest that Jesse earns, interest is basically what did Jesse profit on this investment. So to get what Jesse earned, I need to calculate the principal, which is the cost of the shares plus any fees paid. So the principal would be the cost of the shares. That would be 100 shares at $29.52 a share. Now, if you multiply that together, you get $2,952. Well, what is the transaction fee? The transaction fee would be 1% of that. So we're going to add to that 1% of $2,952. And then we'll get a total. So what was Jesse's total investment? His total investment was $2,981.52. Now, here's where the tricky part is. His return is the value of his shares less the transaction fee. And here's why. Think about it like this. Let's say that you want to cash in those shares and they're now worth $37.85 a share. So you sell those 100 shares and you should get $3,785, right? Wrong. You'll get $3,785 less the 1% transaction fee, because they're going to charge you a transaction fee and take that out of your check. So they're going to take the 1% out of that check. So what they'll send you is $3,785 minus that 1% fee, and you'll only get $3,747.15. Now, to find the interest, all I have to do is find how much he made above the principal. So take the amount minus the principal, and you'll see that Jesse earned an interest of $765.63. Now, let's see what rate this equates to. So now we can take this formula and we can put in here for interest $765.63. For the principal, we can put $29.81.52. I'm going to go ahead and put the time here. The time, remember the time was 9 months. So 9 months is actually 9/12 of a year, which is the same as 0.75 years. So I'll put 0.75 for years, and then rate is the unknown. So now to solve this, just divide both sides by this product, 29.81.52 times 0.75, and I get 765.63 divided by that product gives me 0.3424. And to the nearest 100th of a percent, that would be 34.24%. Okay, so that takes care of that one. I got a couple more here. how long will it take for a CD to double? Now this CD is not Lady Gaga's latest hits. This would be a certificate of deposit that banks offer. The money earns a simple interest rate of 4.8%. So basically I can use this formula, but what you have to do here, even though you're not given the principal, you know that you want the amount to double. So we want the principal to double, so we want our new amount to be twice the principal. So we can replace the amount with twice the principal. And then after I do that, then I could just divide both sides by the principal, and then the P would disappear from the formula completely. So the P would be completely gone. Now the other thing I had to do was, I knew the rate was 0.048, so I put that in for R. So I just get 2 equals 1 plus 0.048t, then just subtract 1 from both sides, and that'll give me 1 equals 0.048t. So I'll write that 0.048t equals 1, and then divide both sides by 0.048 to solve for t. So t would be almost 21 years, about 20.83 years. So that would be the number of years it would take that to double. And then the last problem, I went back to the basics. You borrow $5,000 at a simple interest rate of 18% and agree to pay off the loan after 39 weeks. How much will your total payoff cost at the end of 39 weeks, and how much interest will you pay? We're just going to use this formula, A equals P times 1 plus RT. We know the principal is 5,000. We know the rate is 18%, and decimal be 0.18. We know T is 39 out of 52 years, because you take 39 weeks and divide it by 52, and then that gives you 0.75 for years. So just plug those values into this formula and you get 5,000 times the quantity 1 plus 0.18 times 0.75, and then you get $5,675. And then of course, if you want to know the interest, subtract 5,000 from that, and the interest is $675. And that's all I have to talk about on simple interest. So we'll move into compound interest next.